up, guys? OtterPop here, and welcome to another episode of the RaftCast. I am once again joined by some of my favorite cohorts, Popcorn and Benny. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Guys!
Damn. Why did I know that you were going to do that?
You didn't know how slow I was going to do it.
As soon as I heard the slight delay, I'm thinking to myself, he's going to do it again. He's just going to really delay it. I didn't know how much he was going to delay it, but he was going to delay it.
I'm a delayed kind of guy.
You've become predictable, Benny.
Anyways, the first episode that we had, we ended up talking a lot about games and content creation, but it also kind of extended into talking about how we grew up with games and consoles and, you know, even to an extent how games evolved over time. And I think I don't even remember who exactly came up with the idea to talk a little bit about generational differences, especially in regards to technology, which is similar to the previous episode, but not quite.
It's an expanded, it's like episode 1 bonus, but it's a full episode.
Yeah.
The expanded Otterverse.
And I know that my generational gap between myself and Otter, while small, is still, quite big to expound on, because just even 5 years of a time period in the 90s or 2000s is a lot of technological difference.
Oh yeah. And my boyfriend is actually probably you're probably closer in age to my boyfriend than you are to me, and you know there's still a little bit of differences between us, and he remembers some of the stuff that he grew up with. He also didn't get computers and phones until a lot later than I did. I still remember getting my first phone when I was 11, and it was a little crappy flip phone that really you could only call or text, and maybe there were a couple little random games on the phone itself.
I didn't have a phone until I was 18.
Oh wow.
And but everyone in high school had phones, and every rich kid had an iPhone.
Right.
I just I don't need this. I have the power to, when I get home, to call people on my landline. If I need to call someone. Didn't even consider apps until 2009.
I don't even really remember having a landline in any of the houses I was in. I mean, maybe in any of the trailer homes when I was really young, but I don't remember that stuff.
And the difference in age and technology between myself and Popcorn. Well, Popcorn was born somewhere between the Battle of Waterloo and the coronation of Queen Victoria. So,
hey, careful! He's about as old as my parents. So in a way, that's my parents you're talking about.
Wow. Well, congratulations on your parents' bicentennials, I guess.
Like I said, Benny, predictable.
Oh. Jeez.
Oh, no.
Okay, bicentennial.
Wow. And Popcorn, how does that make you feel when Benny calls you that?
I don't know. Are we trying to keep this PG-13?
Go ahead. Otter said 2 naughty words last time.
True.
Yeah. True, very true. I mean, while the generalizations are obviously incorrect, Benny's right in the broad strokes. It is very, very different for me. I mean, incidentally, I do still have a landline. It's just part and parcel of the internet deal that I have. I never use it. I don't even know what the number is. I have it written down somewhere. But yeah, I mean,
I wonder if landlines are actually a little bit more common in Europe than they are in the U.S. Because I don't really know anybody here with a landline, as far as I'm aware.
Well, the U.S. is a big country, and it's probably a lot easier to erect cell phone masts in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, true.
Than it is to plow landlines through and use cables and poles that can probably be pulled down in a storm or something like that.
Having seen what Portugal looks like, and Lisbon in particular, that makes sense.
I lived in urban LA and around the LA County. I didn't see a lot of people with cell phones until the early 2000s. That's when I saw a lot of adults, not children, with cell phones.
Right.
So I'm not sure what you're talking about, saying you've never seen anyone with a landline. Where I grew up, everyone I knew had a landline, and I had to memorize phone numbers to like speak to my friends.
Well, keep in mind too that my memory is absolutely terrible. So anything before high school, and even parts of high school, I either don't remember at all, or the memories are so vague that I can't put them. I can't clearly imagine what was going on.
Oh, you're such a baby.
Well, no.
Wow.
Well, I mean, yes, but at the same time, it's just my memory is absolutely. Theoretically, I could have grown up for 10, 15 years and like a lot of people have landlines and whatnot, but I just don't remember that because I don't remember a lot of anything really.
Well, you were expected to. I mean, it's not like that era. You were expected to like like it's the same concept of people making fun of the fact that the teachers of our era were like, you're never going to have a calculator on you
Well,
at all times.
but my parents have because you know my parents and popcorn are very similar in age, so they can understand a lot of the technology barriers and advancements a lot better than I can, and they still remember all the kinds of crazy things that they had when they were 5, 10 years old, and then they've seen how technology has advanced to now, and I'm just here like, no, I really only have familiarity with most technology in the last 5 or 10 years.
Maybe when they're 10, but do they have super like in-depth knowledge of the technology of their 20s and 30s, you know, around that time? Do they remember it vividly? Or
My dad actually kind of does. His memory is actually pretty good. My mom remembers a little bit too. And yeah, you know, my parents have some decent or pretty good memories.
I can certainly say, looking at some of like the gadgets that you can get now, I kind of know what my parents felt like when we got our first VCR. You do kind of like feel, holy crud balls.
That and
Things are moving.
I do remember having a VCR player.
I remember
We did have the tape. We did have some tapes from some of the old Pixar and Disney movies. I remember Bugs Life and Lion King for sure.
old commercials saying now on VHS and Betamax.
Yeah. I kind of that sounds
Betamax.
familiar too.
Story. There is a story.
Oh yeah?
I can't remember what it was, but
Whoa, what's the ending? Maybe we can work backwards.
Betamax was the better format, but
It wasn't as popular.
Well, there were some mechanical issues with it, and VHS was just marketed more aggressively.
That's what I mean. Like, you know, even if something is just completely objectively better, if it's not marketed as well, it's not going to succeed.
It's like if you're not out the gate and completely on the game right from the start, you've probably already fighting an uphill battle. And it's not even been like that with it's not the only example. Like, was it like 10 years ago, was it, when the new DVD formats were being like debated over, and you obviously had the Blu-ray, and what was the other one that was being pushed at the time as well? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I just remember DVD and Blu-ray. I don't remember the other one.
I almost feel like Blu-ray and Laserdisc, well, not Laserdisc, that's even older. Blu-ray and DVD, like as soon as Blu-ray came around, I feel like it was already kind of fighting an uphill battle against the digital media of
Oh yes,
not only Netflix, but you know, pirating stuff and just
streaming.
having it on a disc drive.
Yeah, streaming services and just general pirating.
Yeah, pirating, because DVDs, like, they had these locks that you couldn't like skip ads, and like there was all sorts of like stuff that just came attached with it that people didn't want. And of course, like the fear of pirating made people with CDs and DVDs put even more locks on it to make it even more difficult to share media. And so people were like, well, okay, I'm just going to pirate it. Like, what's the point if something I'm buying is worse, you know, than the thing I'm stealing?
It's interesting that you mentioned the locks too, even with CDs. I do remember growing up with CDs. My mom would actually put together a couple of her own CDs, and I don't remember exactly where she got some of the mixes or some of the songs from, but I am positive that she got some from some like online service, like maybe iTunes, but I could have sworn that she gathered some from other CDs themselves. I could be mistaken though.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I mean, it was about between 2006 and 2008, and I just looked it up, and you had the Blu-ray versus the HD DVD.
Hmm.
And I think towards the end of that fight, whoever was back in HD DVD, they just threw up their hands and said, "No, we're out. We're not doing another Betamax."
That's right. HD
Yeah,
DVD.
Yep.
we'll just run with the Blu-ray. But Benny's right, because at that time digital was just starting to take off, and it's like it's about the same time like the micro CDs and the DAT tapes came out, and people just did not realize that the technology was moving so fast, and culture and society was just moving beyond having physical medium for the media. And 'cause I remember a story being told about how they, was it Philips or something like that, spent an absolute fortune developing some kind of like an algorithm or security program that was
Oh.
printed in the the outside ring of CDs to stop people like copying them.
Hmm.
Their hubris.
Yep.
Yeah, and then somebody figured out that if you just went around the edge of the CD with a magic marker, you could just completely blot that program out.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember videos on YouTube about that.
So that's how, technology can be just defeated so easily.
You
despite-
can't stop nerds. That's so dumb. I mean, I understand why. Like, they don't want to go out of business. They're desperate. But really, like,
force of nature.
I mean, but it also, there's also that famous argument of the fact that people are taking a bunch of these songs off of those, illegal downloading sites like Pirate Bay and all those places. I'm just not going to name them all. I just named the famous one because everyone knows it. The boost of sales, like the boost of Weird Al Yankovic songs, like people actually buying his songs because they heard of him now, or South Park is a big example. They made that one episode in response to people downloading their episodes on LimeWire, but it also gave them a huge boost in popularity. So obviously they took a very neutral stance on that episode. I think Otter recently posted that episode. No, not recently. No, it's the Moop episode where Eric Cartman, Faith Plus One.
Oh yeah,
Eric Cartman has a Christian band.
Yeah. I remember that. That was from a couple seasons ago, I think.
Yeah, so it wasn't just reacted. So you can check that out if you become a patron.
Yeah.
Just look up Faith Plus One season 9 episode something or season 8 episode something.
Yeah.
But so there's an argument that people are just gonna find ways to do this, whether it's wrong or not.
Yeah. As Malcolm said in Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
Should we start at the beginning? Should we start backward to forward with Popcorn's experience in early technology?
Start at the time of the dinosaurs?
No, at the time of Caesar. Don't be so ageist. So start with the ball and cup.
Park referenceability literally there, didn't you, Walter?
Maybe just a little bit.
Fraud you.
Well, it's the fact that if he makes fun of you, he's just banned.
But yeah, Popcorn. We were gonna start with you, were we not? Is that what Benny said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want the blow-by-blow history, or do you have questions?
Yes, please. Well, I mean, do you have questions?
I mean, I don't know, because I don't really know too much about that kind of era, and in terms of what the kinds of things that my parents grew up with. Like, I know I've heard occasional stories every now and then, but it's hard to kind of go through my memory storage tank and pluck out specific memories of them telling me about something, because again, as I've established earlier, my memory is shite.
Well, Popcorn, in the Silicon Age, what was the first piece of technology, whether it be a calculator or a computer? What was the first thing that you enjoyed as a modern human?
Well, it's very much an evolution of technology. I mean, when I was like a kid, most televisions that we got still ran on valves.
Mm-hmm.
My mother could fix some TVs when they went on the blink. She just unscrewed the back and had to wriggle around inside and got it working again. But when electronics became far more prevalent, that kind of thing went out the window. My eldest brother actually got the technological edge. He got a small portable television. It was only black and white, but it was compact for the time and packed full of electronics. That would not have normally permitted a television to be that size.
And I'm trying to remember timelines right, but it was there was colored TV by the time the 70s came around, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we had color television,
Okay.
but I think small compact televisions were probably a little bit still limited in what they could do.
Gotcha.
You could see the horrors of Vietnam in color. It's true. That's
wow.
not a joke.
No. I believe you. I also forget that was around the time of the Vietnam War.
And look at the pictures of the burning monks; those are in color. Not the
Oof.
pictures, but the video.
Right.
Sorry to sound so excited about that, but that's
No. It's still interesting nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from a computer standpoint, like our first games console was the Atari 2600.
I do remember my mom telling me occasional stories about growing up with an Atari. I don't think Dad did, as far as I know, but Mom definitely did.
Yeah, I mean that thing's probably kicking around in my mother's attic. The cover's missing off it. There are no switches left on it, but I guarantee you could plug that thing in and it would still work.
Because those things are they're kind of robust, aren't they? Surprisingly,
They're too primitive to break.
okay.
You just
Gotcha.
waggle a screwdriver into one of the slots where a lever used to be. You can get the games to work.
I don't think either of my parents could afford those.
Mm.
Oh, it wasn't cheap.
I suppose they're also pretty simple too, so be even easier to put together.
Oh yeah, but I mean, you're talking about something that probably would have cost like hundreds of pounds,
Yeah.
Right.
and this is like 1979.
As any new technology, really.
Mhm. But you think about it, I mean, you could spend $100 on a night out.
Exactly. Go to the
Mhm.
arcade. Play some pinball like my father did. Played pinball and asteroids was his.
There are some excellent arcade machines still going around. When I visited San Francisco, actually, they had an arcade museum.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling us about that. Last time.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like video games. They had like all kinds of like funfair attractions. They had a scale model of a funfair and what the butler saws and all that kind of like spooky kind of like old style
Spooky?
19th, early 20th century stuff. Like the fortune teller kiosk.
Oh, like from Big? Like
Yes, like exactly, but like big. I did not use one of them.
Oh,
I
that's
saw
too bad.
big, and I took it as a public warning information. But yeah, they had loads of video games. I still suck at pole position, but I did slightly better on Battlezone.
I could never even when it was ported to like home console, I was never good at pole position. I preferred games that weren't first person. Like this is not for me. I'll be the little character that digs down and blows up little things in the ground. I'm not going to play this game.
There was always a place for digging down and blowing shit up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why we have Minecraft and 7 Days to Die.
Yes, it's literally just Dig Dug evolved, and
I played Dig Dug on the Atari.
It should never have gone on the Atari. That thing needs to be on a Namco machine.
It was not good.
No, none of the ported game. Pac-Man on the Atari was terrible. Like they're all terrible.
I mean, nothing beats
Donkey Kong.
Terrible more than E.T.
Isn't that the game with like the worst game score in history or something?
Yeah, I mean
the one that was so bad it was buried.
Yeah, they buried them.
Wow.
They recalled all the cartridges and any new cartridges buried in the ground, and they sell like crazy high prices.
Some archaeologists went and dug them up just to
Wow.
prove that they were there.
Holy crap.
Ego Raptor bought one for $2,100 because he wanted a piece of video game history.
Well,
fair.
There were good games on the Atari as well.
No, Atari. No, I'm shitting on the Atari, but it's actually revolutionary.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, even I know that.
Combat was an excellent game. River Raid, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost
Pitfall.
Ark. That was a very good game.
I forgot that existed.
I played Pitfall a lot on Atari.
Pitfall. Yeah, Activision. These are household names. They're still going.
I know. And Activision, like, it's so sad to see that they ended up just on like one of those terrible Jack specific, things that I talked about last episode, where you could just buy it. It has 20 like classic games on there, and I bet Activision got none of that money, because they were long out of business.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of like the evolution of the medium, you're talking about that is like the original games console.
Mm-hmm.
It's true, but what made game consoles actually like the games consoles era was dying. I mean, here's where I'm moving this forward until until the Nintendo Entertainment System brought it back, and we wouldn't have the video games we have today without that video game system. Moving on to the 1980s and early 1990s.
One thing I will say, the Commodore 64 had an excellent music chip.
Commodore 64 does, and it's visuals aren't that great, but it's a lot of flashing, just like the Atari, and a lot more color, which makes it worse somehow. But the sound was golden. It was beautiful.
I mean, some of the stuff. I mean, I would load up Iridium just to listen to the music.
There's some games like that,
and then I'd turn it off again.
I think Donkey Kong Country 2, I would load up on the SNES just to listen to it.
And of course, that's like one of the earliest personal computers.
That's true. Commodore 64 is a PC.
Yeah. Even though BASIC on a Commodore 64 wouldn't work on BASIC on a Spectrum 48.
Did anyone ever just, when you got your first PC at the, ripe old age of whatever you were to get Windows 3.0 or Windows 95, and just play Minesweeper or FreeCell or whatever game, was loaded on there? Like, just because it was free?
The only games that I ever had were game discs. I never did anything online. I never did like the Minesweeper stuff. It was, I don't know. It just never interested me enough.
Well, I mean, it's just blocks and numbers and little pictures of mines.
Yeah, knowing me, I would have gotten bored fast.
Yeah, I mean, my first PC I got in 1996. It was Windows 95.
Holy crap, it's as old as me!
Yeah. June 96, actually.
Wow.
Holy crap, it's as old as me!
That's a memory. That's a memory that right there. To have you could probably feel the heat in the summer, in the summer room you were in. Just thinking about that moment.
Well, I got it for university. I didn't actually get a modem with it, so it wasn't internet capable. I bought the modem later on and installed it myself. Back in the days where you're more likely to like open your computer up and fiddle around inside it. Only like the true like geeks and nerds do that kind of thing now. We were kind of like transitioning into like maybe the advent of the internet.
Yeah. Yep.
My first internet savvy computer was Windows 2000. That's the first time I owned a computer that could connect to the internet, and boy, was it not my internet. It was definitely a neighbor's internet.
Oh, you were mooching off somebody else, were you?
Oh.
And it had, naughty, but what? I was, in junior high, so, what are you going to do? You arrest a kid who's 12? And
have you seen the FBI lately?
No, because I was kind of expecting at first, like that South Park suggested that I was going to get, anytime I heard a helicopter above, I'm like, oh my God, they're after me because I downloaded an episode of Futurama.
They're after my giblets.
And what was I saying? Yeah, no, it had Windows Media Player that had Napster already installed on it. Let's see what else. It had a awesome pinball game on it that I spent way too much time on. I don't know if
I remember Windows Pinball.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that just the best?
No, I technically didn't have like my own like personal computer or PC just to myself until I started college. Or no, no. Actually, no. I technically lie. Technically, my first personal device that wasn't a cell phone, at least, was in high school. It was this little. It wasn't really a MacBook or a Chromebook. It was a Lenovo tablet, though.
All right.
It was pretty small, but it was my own personal device. I use it mostly for school. But my family they did have their own PC for a while, and my sister and I would occasionally use it. I think we still had it when I was living in New York, so when I was in 4th and 5th grade. But my sister and I hardly ever used that, especially because it was around that time that we got the PS2 and the Nintendo DS's, so we had other ways to entertain ourselves. But neither of us really started using that computer until we moved to Colorado, and that's around when I started middle school, or junior high.
Not to go back to video games, but I'm going to go back to video games. The Nintendo DS. This is the system that could connect to the internet. The original ones, you had to have like a special like USB thing to attach to a computer with the internet in order for that DS to connect to the internet. But imagine my surprise when I didn't need a wire for the first time ever to play with a friend in PictoChat or Animal Crossing. Like these are because it was all infrared. Like this is the technology that, I mean, it's not like infrared was a new technology, but the Nintendo DS was probably, I think, the most brilliant invention of the Nintendo's golden age of handheld gaming. Like I never even considered getting a PSP because even though PSP would have been great for my, junior high school, like conniving, stealing of media and just turning it into a pirate machine. But no, the Nintendo DS, super fun. I still have it, in order for me to like transfer Pokemon from earlier generations to later ones.
Right.
Still love that thing.
I don't have the DS anymore. I do have a 3DS that I got, I want to say, sometime in high school. But I have not used that thing in years. At this point, all I really use are my PC and occasionally the PS4 or the Switch. And that's really all I use.
The DS is more for train and plane rides.
Right. And but it's interesting because I never used the DS for anything internet or related. All I ever did was play the games on the cartridges. That's all I ever did with the DS. I never used the online functions.
Well, the only online functions were in game. They weren't like a browser or anything like that.
Well,
It wasn't
right.
until the DSi, the I standing for internet, because I was everywhere. And you know what was interesting about the I being everywhere? It replaced the E because of Apple. Apple put the I everywhere, and so everyone started using I instead of E because it used to be like E Explorer, or E, this and that.
Right, an Internet Exploder.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? The new Internet Explorer is the fastest thing I can use to download Chrome now. So it's
Huh. Wow.
The quickest way to get the browser that you want.
Yeah. Or if you don't want a whole bunch of spyware, just use other alternatives. But Firefox is actually not bad now. Firefox goes up and down for me depending on how slow it gets.
Well, I started out with was it Netscape Navigator?
Yep, Netscape was on my 95.
So so you guys will probably have a better memory of that. Well, Popcorn definitely. Benny, I'm not entirely sure.
Thanks.
But no, because I don't remember the time frame of some things. But because Popcorn for sure, you grew up in an era when internet didn't even exist, and all of a sudden it did exist. What was that kind of transition like?
It was like intense in some ways. Looking back, you don't feel it at the time, but you look back and you realize what a watershed moment it was, because it's like when I was in college, which was like between 94 and 96, most of the research that I did for the assignments I was putting together, there was like two key sources. One of them was one of those old-fashioned tower stacks of CD-ROMs.
Yeah.
Which would have like links to articles, like newspapers on, all stored on the CDs. So you go through the articles and you print stuff out from them. And the other source was literally microfiche. I spent hours copying down notes, looking at microfiche of, say, the Financial Times in the library, a whole afternoon. And it's not that long ago. And the library, you can go to the library now, certainly here, and they still have microfiche machines. They still keep them. So it's still like a valid format medium.
Huh.
But then the internet starts to creep in like 96.
Yes.
When I went to university, the university had the internet. But you're talking 1.4 kilobits.
Right.
1.4 kilobits. It could take you hours to download a 20 megabyte file.
A single picture of Tuvok from Star Trek Voyager. I need to get it in an hour.
Yeah, literally. It could be like that. The resolution of the images was not the best.
Well, you didn't know that. Is better than what you've had, 5 years ago.
Well, exactly. It wouldn't. It's like that evolution. I said I did. My computer didn't even come with like a modem. I had to buy a modem card and install it myself when I realized I probably needed to use the internet from home. So, looking at how it changed the way I studied, the way I looked at things, it was revolutionary because all of a sudden I could do stuff from home, whereas before I'd have to go to the library.
Yeah. That's the transition that I think I basically just missed as someone who was born in 91. The first World Wide Web page was, I think, posted October 1991. And just after, a couple months later, the fall of the Soviet Union. That has nothing to do with it. I just wanted to point out. But the internet, again, you said exploded at around 1996, but still, it was still a bunch of catalogs and travel blogs and a chat room or two, to quote Bo Burnham. And honestly, still not a lot of people were utilizing it to its fullest potential. And then around, the early 2000s, 2002, 2003, suddenly, like, my generation, was using it, and it was basically us and a bunch of nerds. And we were nerds too. I don't know why I'm saying that, but us and a bunch of those people, who were using it for business, and so, like, it's this, like, oh, this is our time now, kind of, because kids these days are just going to have the internet no matter what. Like,
yeah.
But this is us, like, being like the only ones here, a bunch of kids and a bunch of pedophiles, and
oh no,
and a bunch of again, people using it for legitimate business use, and it feels like this overwhelming sense of power that really shouldn't have, really didn't amount to anything. It just made a bunch of websites, really toxic. And well, what I'm getting at is that, if I'd have been a little bit older, if I'd have been born, say, 1987, a few years older, I probably would have been much more mature in the sense that you were, like, oh, great, I don't have to go to the library to do this anymore. I can use I can post a job application online, and a few years later, everyone has to, because there's no paper applications anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them. I getting to grips with online applications was something that's been like another like weird experience where, because I was never good doing handwritten forms anyway. I would like photocopy it out to make sure I didn't make a mistake. I'd fill in the copy perfectly.
My
go on
hand
to the
still
main
hurts from learning
form and
cursive.
immediately misspell my own name. And I'd just be like, so, that kind of thing really did make an absolute difference. And yet there were dodgy websites on the internet almost from the day it was born.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Oh, there still are. Yeah.
You didn't have Encyclopedia Dramatica. You didn't have 4chan. You didn't have all these, like, congregations of bad, toxic, gross. And I say gross, I mean, like, not gross as in, like, ew, it's icky, but like, ew, this is illegal and icky.
Twitter.
Yeah. Well, the internet back then, it wasn't stratified the way it was now, and there were no filters.
Exactly.
Right,
you could stumble into anything. It's not like now where you have the quote unquote deep web where you need certain like stuff to actually access it and find it.
Yeah, I think it took the government a while to even create any rules or regulations regarding internet practices. Initially, it was such a new technology that they didn't. I don't know. They didn't pay attention to it. They didn't feel the need to. I'm not entirely sure. But
the government's old. They're just old people. They're just old.
They still are.
It's a long time to catch up.
I think some of the senators are still waiting for their picture in 1996 to download.
You're probably not wrong.
Nope.
All right, and so we move on to, we've heard enough from Popcorn and myself. Otter, your experience in the evolution of technology.
Yeah, because I'm a little bit of a younger generation where, again, by the time I was born is when, the internet, like the Internet Explorer at least came out. But the internet was starting to be a little bit more widely used by the time I was 6, 7 years old. Funny enough, though, one of my very earliest memories actually relates to the internet in a way. I was at my grandparents' house, and I don't know, I was awake kind of early in the morning, and I go downstairs into the basement area. That's where my grandparents had their office, and my mom is watching a video on the computer, and it's a music video of sorts, but it's with music in the background as news reports are going around about the planes hitting the Twin Towers. It was days after it had happened, and my mom was just staring at the computer, just watching in utter horror. And and that's a big reason why I like almost have a panic attack whenever I hear that song, is because that memory has been instilled in me since I was 5 years old. But that's actually that's probably the earliest memory that I vividly remember. And I never realized that it actually related to the internet and computers, but that just goes to show how known it was and how widely used it was by the time even I was 5 years old in 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
There was news websites, then, and so much so that like they were well known. It wasn't just confined to a small group of people. Like you could go, news networks on TV were promoting their internet services.
Right.
I mean, I remember 2001 very, very vividly. We had an internal internet system in the job where I worked, an intranet, but it wasn't connected to the outside world. So when the news started to filter through, we were blind. We knew nothing about what was going on except what people were telling us over the phone. We had people at their desks; their spouses were calling in and relaying information. We sent a runner off to the pub across the road because they had a giant screen, which they normally used for football, and they had live broadcasts on. So we had a runner going over and relaying information to us.
I'm sure Britain was terrified.
Well, I was actually working in a government office at the time, so all of a sudden our security got raised overnight. It was a lot more intimidating going into work. You just felt it. Yeah, it's very, very oppressive.
Thinking back, that was probably one of the first major events that occurred during the times of the internet.
Yeah, it's our Pearl Harbor.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about 9/11 too much.
No.
Because it's political, divisive, even today.
Right.
I'm just never forget, but I've forgiven. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I again, it kind of stinks that's my first like actual vivid memory that I did remember. I even confirmed it with my mom years later, and my sister and my dad were looking at me like I was crazy, but my mom was looking at me like, yeah, you remember that? So it's just kind of wild that one of my first actual memory is from a combination of an absolutely awful event, but goes to show again how widely used the internet was, even just by the early 2000s.
Yeah, and it shows from my experience how quickly we were so dependent on the internet for news.
Oh yeah, already seeding our roots, like not going to be able to pull ourselves out.
Yeah,
and you can still find these television broadcasts on YouTube if you've got a mind.
People react to them.
Yeah,
actually, I've seen. I've never watched the videos myself because I'm not really into reactions, but. Yeah, I've seen like it posted like this British guy, this Indian guy, this Chinese guy reacts to the 9/11 footage, or whatever, and
because there's some people that haven't even seen it. Yeah, even to this day.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff that you react to, and there's probably stuff I would choose not to react to. That is definitely something I would not react to.
Oh, no. Fair enough. Fair enough.
It's just being advertised to me. I mean, I guess it's because they think it would be something. Because I do watch some like North Korean videos of people like getting out of North Korea and talking about their experiences. So I think that's why I'm getting these advertised to me.
Possibly.
But yeah, it's that's insane to me. Well, it's not insane because I haven't because people 9/11 people there are people now who are adults who are born after 9/11. It's gonna be like it's gonna be like Pearl Harbor where our generation's like never talk about it, but the next generation it's gonna be a lot softer, and the generation after that they're gonna probably make a lot of jokes about it like we do about Pearl Harbor. And that's the reality.
Yeah.
That's,
yeah.
Not gonna say it's right or wrong. It's just saying it still hurts. The Holocaust, it still hurts. So we don't make still too many jokes about it, but it's still kind of okay in the realm of comedy to do. 9/11 still.
And it's one of those things where there are people that have firsthand experience, and then they will sometimes tell the next generation, but the next generation didn't actually experience it, so they don't exactly know how to take it. Here's what's interesting though is that I think the internet could change that a little bit, because now in terms of things that happened maybe in the late 90s and especially in the 2000s and definitely in the 2010s, we have so much recorded material. We have so much actual evidence of things that have happened, whether events or related to people or places, and it's not just going to be, firsthand accounts of, I remember when this happened or I was there, but it's even future generations who were born after it happened. They can now see what's been going on too. They may formulate their own opinions, but they can now have they may not have seen it, but they now have a visual record of what exactly happened. So
of what their grandfather told them.
Right.
They might even see their grandfather as a kid, That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
To see it so clearly. To see your grandfather talking to you as a child, or a teenager.
Yeah, I mean, but just imagine how much the internet could change that kind of passing down of information now.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to imagine, but I truly don't think we can actually actively predict what's coming.
No, I don't think so either. But it's still interesting to kind of theorize about.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I said it's fun to imagine. It's
the internet.
I'm scared.
The internet has become a repository for human knowledge.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is like littered with conspiracy theorists and flat earthers and all this kind of thing, and it has some of the very aspects of humanity in it.
Yeah.
But you can go online. You can go watch a video of 100-year-old guy talking in the 1960s about what his life experiences were like as a young man. That's a vitally important piece of information that is now safeguarded forever because the internet exists.
Or the video of the man talking about his witnessing of the assassination of President Lincoln on a news story in the 60s or 50s.
Yeah.
And that's archived.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really drives home that these things only recently passed out of living memory. The 60s is not that long ago.
Yeah, but now there's a digital record of it, and will probably exist for quite some time. Because if you think about it, it won't last forever necessarily, because digital information can still degrade over time. It's absolutely possible for that to happen.
As long as there is people existing who can transfer it to new mediums and renew it, then it will effectively endure as long as humanity endures.
True. And something else that I want to bring up as well. This is something that I am much more familiar with, and I don't know how much you guys actually know about this, but as much as the internet is very beneficial, there have also been recent instances where it can be very harmful, namely with I don't know if you guys have heard about stuff that's been going on in the AI sphere lately. Yeah.
Oh,
here we go. I love talking about AI.
Well, because I have mixed feelings on it. And for one, okay, first off, it's not technically AI because these are literally just databases. That's all they are. They're not actually intelligences that are creating anything new. They're just grabbing grabbing from a database based on keywords and whatnot. So, but, AI is the term that we now know. But there's been a lot of problems going on with AI programs lately. And it's nothing against AI in general. It can be very beneficial, but it can also be abused all the same.
Always is.
But it's for sure been targeting a lot of creative industries lately, especially artists and even voice actors and musicians. Like, there are certain AI programs out there where you can take any image off the internet. You can take these art pieces from a specific artist's style, and you can, type in a prompt on a website and use these images and draw something with this and this and this and this in this specific artist style. And suddenly it could potentially look like something in that artist style, but it's not. And they're trying to get the credit and possibly even money from something that they didn't actually create. Something that even in a sense the AI didn't create. And there are other databases where, you will be taking a sample of a musician's voice and creating your own track from it, like a legitimate 3, 4, 5 minute long track, and it actually sounds like that artist, but it's not that artist.
I agree with you. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I think that the people who do that, who aren't the creator of the AI program, should die and burn in hell. But what if you are the programmer? You made this AI to do that. And, who says that this particular program that he made isn't his art?
Will that kind of a program been made by one person, though?
Okay,
not,
so it's
not usually. Those kinds of efforts take a lot of coders to put together.
Okay, so it's a multifaceted. I guess that's the problem, is it's the owner of the AI program. But if that particular AI makes something, I think those coders might deserve a little credit. Just the coders.
I mean, I'm not entirely sure how I feel. I can understand where you're coming from, but they just create the program and teach and code how it's going to read a database. But they're not actually throwing in the prompts. They're not the ones who are deciding, oh, here's what I want the end result to be. They're just determining how data is grabbed. They're not actually grabbing and creating the data, though. Those are the prompters.
Okay, so you're seeing the data as like tools, weapons, or whatever. This is it's in how it's used. You're saying, not necessarily in it itself being. Because I agree that this is a problem, and it's going to really hurt a lot of artists. And
it already has been. There are many artists who are getting out of jobs, or who are losing their jobs and losing clientele. There is a writer in particular. He had a couple of clients. He had a big client in particular, but that client decided to start using ChatGPT, and he had no choice but to apply for a DoorDash driver job, because he could no longer make money off of his writing creativity and his skill and experience.
That's terrible. And that's kind of how I'm curious as to how it could be even stopped, though, because ChatGPT is kind of enormous.
True, but here's where the issue, because there are actually governmental agencies, not just in the US, but all over the world, that are starting to fight against AI programs and starting to make laws and regulations because of copyright. That's definitely a big thing that's come up, because at least in the US specifically, and to an extent in a few other countries as well, anything that is made by an artificial intelligence does not fall under the requirements for copyright, because there's no human authorship.
Sure, but these things will still be made, though.
These things will still be made. Like, there's no doubt in my mind about that. In that sense, AI is inevitable. I have fully accepted that. It's just a matter of regulating how it's used so that as few people are threatened as possible in terms of taking jobs. Because this is what technology and this is what the internet has become capable of. Is literally stealing from creatives. And again, even voice actors, there are many voice actors, but there's institutions that are being put together to basically require that studios cannot use their voices in set out in contract that their voices cannot be used for AI programming.
Well, that's good. I mean, because nowadays you could actually make your own VTuber out of nothing. No need for a person. Just have a AI and a digital profile.
They might
kind
them.
of. Yeah, there's still lots of artists that do work on VTuber models, and they tend to look better, honestly.
Okay, I'm not. I'm just saying it's not really going anywhere.
No.
I think regulation is the pathway. It's the only pathway.
It is. Yeah.
It has to be, because otherwise the future for creatives is very, very dark.
Well,
if we hand everything over to AI, which some people would be only too happy to do because it's probably cheaper in the long run to pay a coder to develop a program that you can use again and again and again.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Paying like individual creatives on individual projects, then people are going to stop creating. Humans need to create.
Absolutely. And that's exactly
out there.
That's exactly a problem in Japan. About 70% of artists' workforce have already been laid off because of the advancements that AI has been making and because it's cheaper. That's significant.
DeviantArt has a lot of AI projected material now.
Yep, with their new Dream Up program, which I think is based off of a Stable Diffusion model. Yeah, I left DeviantArt because of that. Oh, I mean, there was a little bit more to it, but essentially that's kind of why I left DeviantArt. I literally took all of my works off there. And that's why I went to create my own portfolio website. My own, like, one that I can control.
Good.
Yeah, I haven't really used DeviantArt for quite some time, and it was mostly just photographs.
Right.
But I am most definitely considering removing my material from there.
I mean, yeah, it's reasonable.
I mean, all that's on my DeviantArt kind of stuff I made when I was 13, so I don't really care.
No, fair enough. But yeah, and another area where this could be a little bit problematic is in the media and political sphere, because there have already been people that have been using AI to, I think, make threats, like death threats to other people, and have been creating images that aren't actually true related to political figures. So,
you've got
the
threat bots.
Yeah, it's not just
the deepfake issue with a lot of Twitch streamers was awful. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
Nope. I've mostly been watching, Trump, Obama, and Joe Biden playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
That's how I'm using it.
No, but there's a Twitch streamer. It was Mizkif is his name, and he ended up going to this sort of porn site, I believe it was, but it was AI deepfakes of other female Twitch streamers.
Makes sense.
He clicked off pretty quickly, but the fact that he did it during a Twitch stream, it was detrimental to so many, and we're talking big Twitch streamers too, from Pokimane to Valkyrae to QT Cinderella. I don't know if you know any of those names. I'm actually very familiar with the YouTube and the Twitch spheres, but they were like big female Twitch streamers that who never engage in any kind of sexual stuff like this.
I mean, it sounds like the next step. Again, the reason why I would lift DeviantArt is because of all the fake nudes of Emma Watson.
Yeah.
Like it's just that it's like the next step in not just it's not just about posting porn of your favorite actress. It's about humiliating them, and
right,
especially if they're big in the feminist movement, like Emma Watson is. It's about putting women in their place, and and I say that, I don't say that as if I believe that. I'm just saying that's what it is.
That's how it would be viewed.
Yeah, that's how I see it, and it's awful.
Right.
But again, it sounds kind of like the next technological step in that, and the next, of course, might be. I mean, people might say the next is VR, and like what's that movie with Sylvester Stallone? And they where they have virtual sex.
I don't know.
You could create your own anyone, and it's or that Futurama episode where Fry makes a Lucy Liu robot to make love to.
Oh, jeez. But I mean, the potential for this kind of stuff to be detrimental to other people's industries and their livelihoods, but also the spread of misinformation are huge issues with this new technology. And again, I just want to clarify, I'm not against AI in general, but it needs to be regulated and used correctly. It needs to be used ethically.
I'm not saying I'm for or against anything. I'm a nihilistic person. I'm just like,
Right.
whatever happens is going to happen, and I just run with it. Try to be a moral person and move on. You know, what I should be is more activist, but I'm not.
I'm mostly saying that too, because this will get published on YouTube, and if anybody does hear me talking about this whole AI nonsense that's been going on, there are plenty of people that would automatically assume that, oh, she just doesn't automatically like the AI, because there are still a lot of AI prompters out there that will give artists and creators a lot of shit for speaking out against AI even a little.
Yeah.
It's highly unfortunate.
I actually came up a few years ago with a kind of like a science fiction story loosely based around this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like people had become so used to like AI and, artificial intelligence, and
Yeah.
they developed fembots and comfort programs.
Yeah.
Because nobody could handle being in relationships anymore, and the ups and downs and different personalities. So they just wanted nothing but compliance and wonderful supporting people. So basically everybody just had robot lovers, and it had led to the population of the planet collapsing because people had lost all the social skills that nobody could actually breed anymore.
Yeah, it's like that Futurama episode. I dated a robot. That's the one I was talking about. That's exactly that. Check it out, season 3. This episode not sponsored by Futurama.
Wow, that's a pretty old one if it's from season 3.
Yeah, it would have been 2003, 2004.
I don't know. I thought Futurama was a little bit older than that.
Well, 2000. Well, the first episode aired 1999, like the very last day of 1999, maybe early 2000.
Gotcha.
Because it was based on the millennial change.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's not like The Simpsons where they pumped out a season every year.
Right.
So
gotcha.
That's why I extended it to maybe 2004, being 4 years later at season 3. Yeah, maybe,
okay. Okay, I gotcha. I see what you're saying.
I get what you're putting down.
I'm smelling what you're stepping in.
Yes. I'm bowling in the lane that you're in.
And I'm going to stay as far away as possible.
Good idea.
I don't have the mindset to keep up with that. That was way too fast for me.
But yeah, it's kind of crazy how technology, the internet in particular, has evolved in just like 25 years. It's so very different from when it first came out. Obviously.
Are we going to end on a positive note? Because you've been depressing us for the past 20 minutes.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's the truth, and the truth needs to be said.
Right.
Doesn't mean it isn't sad.
Well, yeah, and there's still positive ways to move forward with this. Honestly, like you were saying earlier, Benny, the proper regulations is really kind of the only path forward for stuff like this. Any technology in its own sense needs regulations. That's why there's so many departments out there that regulate trade, economy, technology, all that good stuff all over the world.
Yeah, to be honest though, the only governments that can regulate things quickly though are autocracies and bad ones, dictatorships. Like it takes a long time to get legislation through in democracy and socialist democracy countries.
True, but I will say with the whole AI stuff, I mean, a lot of these problems started kind of November-ish of last year, so the fact that we're already getting some results, not even 6 months after, is actually pretty impressive.
Well, I'm not. Don't make me. I'm not going to be impressed with my government. Don't you dare.
No, I'm saying in general, because again, this is not just limited to the U.S. This is even.
I'm not impressed with the general either.
I'm okay. How about this? Surprised.
Okay.
Surprised. Not impressed. Surprised.
Okay, I could be surprised.
Yeah.
I'm easily surprised, and I'm easily impressed.
Are you now?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to sound quite so depressing at the end. I apologize for that, but, technology's been doing some crazy stuff lately, that's all.
Oh, good. I'm going to have a robot feed me ice cream while I cry. and have a robot wipe my tears.
You do you. I will
Thanks.
just
You do the robot.
I will just drink my coffee and I will have breakfast that I heated up myself, but whatever.
Domo
And I
arigato,
think
everyone.
I might go and get myself some beer.
Oh, go do that. I might get myself some more coffee, because that sounds good.
You
All
see,
right.
That's one other thing that we didn't touch on. Shopping online.
Oh yeah. Online shopping is definitely much different than because online shopping didn't become a thing until 10, 15 years ago, maybe?
No,
15, 20?
I was buying stuff online in the 90s.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you could. Yeah, it's been around a while. eBay's been around for a while.
Oh yeah, that's right. eBay exists.
Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Amazon, the big conglomerate.
But Amazon was not the big conglomerate. Congratulate crocodile until like
Gentlemen.
mid to late 2000s. Like it wasn't
You're right.
the way it is now.
Right.
It was just like an online bookstore at first.
Yes, it was. That's it. Literally, Amazon bookstore.
Not anymore.
It was a lot more innocent back then. It was a different time.
Oh,
Well,
very
praise-
different time.
Praise Amazon.
Kinda.
Somebody-
No.
May they be merciful to our souls.
I mean, I don't know. Jeff Bezos is. Ooh.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, he's
The
kind of
man
like a
with
Martian.
dildo rocket.
He's a weird thing.
Well, they're all weird, aren't they?
Yeah, usually.
To being weird.
To being weird. Here.
Here,
There, everywhere. Is it time to wrap up so we don't continually praise our corporate masters?
Yes, that's probably an excellent idea. Let's try and end on a positive note, please. As Benny, you
Right.
suggested.
G.
Buy online.
It's a positive note.
Oh, you're a dork. You're a dork. You're hilarious.
Goodbye, everyone.
Well, thank you so much for
Goodbye.
joining me on this other episode of RaftCast, you guys. I'm glad we're starting to make this a bit more of a regular thing, because, yeah, it's kind of fun. All right.
What?
Talk to you later,
Okay,
boys.
guys. Check you later.
Goodbye.
And thank you for listening to another episode of RaftCast. Bye, everybody.